Hello, I'm John, the executive producer here at Final Show Films. I got a few notes for you before the show. First, I want to thank you all for watching. We couldn't do what we do or the amount of things that we do without the support of you, the viewer. If you want to support us financially, which we always appreciate, you can go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/fsfilms, where you can donate as little as $1 a month to help us continue this and all the things that we do. I want to give a special shout out to our $25 supporters, Antitonic, Waterflame, and Samantha Bates. Second, I want to let you all know that we here at Final Show Films are planning a little get-together up at Gen Con this year. That's August 2nd through 5th up at Indianapolis. We're going to be up there just sort of hanging out, enjoying the con, spending time together, and if any of you guys want to come up and say hi, please feel free. We don't bite unless you want us to. And if you enjoy whatever it is you're about to watch or listen to, be sure to check out our website at finalshowfilms.com, where you can find links to all of our other content, both podcast and video. And be sure to follow me at John A. Bates on Twitter for more updates on all of the content we're creating in the future. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy. And we're live.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to West Rising, the Werewolf the Apocalypse Chronicle. I'm Michelle. I'm your storyteller this evening. And let me introduce our players. Let's start with John.
I'm John, and I'm playing Shadow, the Getafindrus Arun.
And Aaron.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm playing Thistle, the child of Gaia Theurge.
And William.
Children of Gaia Theurge? I don't understand how that conjugates.
Either one. Either one. William.
I'm William, and I'm playing C. Walsh, the Uktana Philinox.
And Craig.
I'm Craig. I'm playing Grudek, the Bonar Galliard.
And Jack.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jack. I'm playing Tig Connolly, the Ragabash from the Fianna.
And let's hope that his internet stays on for the duration. All right, when last we left our heroes, the 5 young werewolves had gone down to the city to do some shopping and also to check out the building where they had encountered before a young black spiral dancer. They did not find him. He and his mother had left the building, but the little girl was still there. Rather than stir up that hornet's nest again, they elected to go down into the basement of the building, check things out, and there they saw definite signs of black spiral presence, an actual black spiral spray painted on the wall, and a creepy entrance to some dark underground room that was just seething with worm corruption. They decided wisely not to investigate, and they are now in Silver Glare's minivan on their way back to the caern. Silver Glare herself has stayed in the city. She wants to surveil the building overnight to see if the kid or his mom return. So you guys are, C is driving this soccer mom minivan, heading back to Muir Woods.
To be fair, it's not a lot bigger than my truck.
That's true. It is around sunset. It's getting close to about 7 p.m. So it's getting dark. The park will be good and closed by the time you get there. But the first thing that happens as you guys start to make your way back is that Thistle gets a text message. A little buzz or a beep or whatever happens.
Actually,
I'm
desperate.
Loose.
Yeah, I'm desperate to know what Thistle's text notice is.
Currently?
I'm sure it's awesome.
Where is
So
the
there's
cat?
a meowing in the car.
I start looking for a cat.
It's not a cat, it's a phone.
And it's from Thistle's mom, and it says, "Where are you?" with 2 question marks.
Busy. No punctuation, just the word busy, send it back.
Lowercase b.
No, I'm not going to bother correcting the auto capitalization. That's too much effort.
After a few more minutes. Doing what?
Work, school, life,
Thistle, who's that?
mother, I think. Parent, one of my parents. Not the one who's part of this. She's not kinfolk.
The next text message says, "That's funny because someone from your work called here."
Makes a mental note to try and figure out how they found that number.
Do you have Skype?
Yeah. Why?
Can I borrow your phone sometime?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
And after a few more minutes, there's another message that's clearly trying for a different tone when there's no response to that one, saying, "Whatever's going on, I'm sure I'll understand if you just talk to me." A little heart emoji.
It seems like someone wants to
Thistle
talk.
will just sort of like, I believe I was sitting next to Shadow, just sort of like lean back onto Shadow.
Shadow is large and warm and comfortable.
Aw.
Okay.
But not soft.
No, not soft.
I could probably figure out. We're busy. We have to go back to the Sept now. See, I may need to make a second stop in the morning when we go back out to do that printing stuff.
I can absolutely drop you off wherever you need to go.
Cool.
Parents.
She will will look around the car. Which of you is okay with getting dressed up and pretending to be a romantic significant other to who confused my parents?
Yes!
Tig just
Favorite
loses it
trope.
and immediately volunteers.
Best trope ever.
Shadow just looks confused.
Okay.
Grudek immediately assumes he's not even remotely in the running.
Oh, no. I'll follow you on that
Shadow,
one.
you've explained the like non-kinfolk humans thing,
Yes.
right? How they don't know about this and sometimes sneak and sometimes are connected to the evil
Correct.
companies. So my mother is one of those. She's not a threat that we are aware of, but doesn't know about us or this. So I need
An excuse.
excuse, pretend, that sort of thing to try and keep her out of it.
So you're going to pretend to be mating with Tig.
Yes,
Tig's like antsy pensiveness has completely evaporated, and he is laughing his ass off now.
which I promise is not an actual thing I intend to do. I understand that is werewolf unacceptable, but my parents will take it as unacceptable, despite the whole not knowing about the werewolf part.
Grudek is just trying to not sort of sink into the seat at this point in the conversation.
Basically, I want to freak out and confuse my mother so that she social faux pas out of following me around.
Oh, that's the avenue you're going with this one then.
Yes. How comfortable are you with like tight crop tops and wigs?
Interesting. No, you're peeking an intriguing thread there. So what's this character I'm playing then?
If
You might also want to look at some of Shadow's new outfits.
if the desired
That's a good
impact
point.
is to frighten your mother, I can do that easily.
Not that kind of frightened, Shadow.
It's not so much that you want to terrify the woman as you want to have her a bit more uncertain and bewildered.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So I feel like we've
Confusion tactics, then.
got an accent. You're clearly from, is across the pond what I'm supposed to say?
Yeah.
You can call it whatever you like, but yeah.
Yeah. So we play with that. You're around the same age, so maybe you're here for school or something.
She's not going to accept the idea that I just simply happen to be an indigent wandering Irishman.
She doesn't have to, but
Irish person, in this case, I suppose, would be a bit more.
I feel like we stick with man. I feel like
That's
fair,
That's fair.
it's uncomfortable enough with that.
Seems
if we
reasonable.
play you as cis, she gets more uncomfortable with the idea of us being together.
I'm fine with that.
Also, we try not to cast cis people in trans roles.
I've heard of this.
Mm. There are
Anything
many
else gets,
cultural things I need to learn about San Francisco.
Yeah.
You and
By
me
the
both,
way,
big fella.
Just Grudek, for the record, DL is a term for like in the closet, not coming out as gay, queer, trans.
I thought it meant down low.
Yeah, you're on the DL because you're not out.
Yeah, the
They have to make
usage-
sure-
Where I
Of
come from, it
movies
just
in a
means
whole
keeping
new
something
light now.
secret.
yeah,
We totally stole your term and made it mean something else.
Yeah, that's
good to
kind
know.
of what it means elsewhere in the world, but in California, it's got a very specific
Mm.
Good to know.
It's also sort of specifically related to Black queer culture, though I can speak a little less to that etymology.
Mm. In Italy, very few people hide those aspects of themselves.
Yeah, but Italy's also got one of the highest trans assault rates in Europe, so yes and no.
Gridek is being quiet as he tries to think back on all the times he's told people he's on the DL.
It's not a bad thing, and
No, he
plenty of
he
people
doesn't look
use the term for
uncomfortable.
its
He's
other
just-
meaning, which is part of why it's convenient.
Yeah, he doesn't look uncomfortable. He's just sort of
pondering.
Reconsidering.
How many people have I unintentionally informed about an aspect of my life that I did not mean to imply? Yeah. So is there any other like urgent things that any of you want to bring up on the car ride before you get back? Anything that's pressing
Shadow is now just
anybody?
currently, organizing confusion tactics in his head, and alongside, running back and forth through a stream in order to leave random tracks, is now coming home to your parent with a stranger in a tight crop top, and he's sort of trying to figure out where on the scale of effectiveness that lies. So.
Well, it's kind of a similar strategy, leaving a false trail, Yeah. Makes
Similar
sense.
strategy, different
It's sort of-
implementation, and that's where he's like
Indeed.
organizing in his head.
Execution is where he's trying to break down. But yeah, Tyga is mostly just gonna surprisingly just sit and listen to anything else that happens, and then wait until they get back to the cairn.
Okay. And and then there's obviously plenty of parking spaces for the van because all of the tourists have gone home.
He
So
finds a place to park, preferably near his vehicle, so he can get out, retrieve his weapon, and then head to the cairn.
and the park is just absolutely gorgeous at night. All of the annoying tourists are gone. During the day there's the constant background noise of, even when you're in the very heart of the cairn, you can still hear people laughing far away, talking, and now it's nothing but crickets and animal sounds and wind and trees, and it's just so peaceful and lovely as you walk back up the trail. And it's once again, about an hour's walk to get to that jumpable boulder that serves as your gateway in. And it's very peaceful.
Question.
No problems on the way there.
It's getting
Yes.
into night. This is getting. What is the moon like?
By the time you get to the cairn, it's about, let's see, it's about 8 p.m. No, it's about 8 p.m. when you pull in, because it was almost 7 when you left.
Mhm.
So it's getting close to 8. So it is definitely dark, but there is no moon yet. The moon hasn't risen yet.
Okay.
But yeah, it will at 9 p.m. So, you just head back to the cairn and do the whole boulder leaping thing. And where are you going to head first?
We should inform Silverglare. I think that was who it was. The Silverglare is the one we left behind. But yeah.
Silverglare's the one.
we
yeah.
should inform
Mhm.
Silverglare's back.
of the events.
Yes.
Uh,
Just for sake of clarity and confusion, if the rest of you have anything you need to do, I'll go and let them know myself. Just to keep too many voices giving a little bit too much at
I
one
need
time.
to speak with Rips anyway. I will go with you.
That's fine.
I think I'll just wander
Is
about
there-
the cairn for a bit then.
Is there a
Thistle?
particular child of Gaia I would go to for spirit? I forget what the demographic gift is called.
Tribe. Your tribe gift.
Thanks.
Yeah. Let's see. You could go to your dad, or you could go to Bridge Runners, another one who, well, he's a theurge like you, so he's probably very familiar with spirit stuff, but also
Yeah.
dad.
I can go to my dad. I just while everyone else is doing
Yeah, as the Cairn Warder, he's her Silverglare's superior, so you could also let him know, like what's going on with her.
Before we split up, Grudek will say to C, I can come with, or I certainly have other things I can do. So tell me what you would prefer.
If you really want to come with, that's fine. I just want to try and keep information in as direct a funnel as possible so that we're not saying too much at once. But if you have something else that can be done, that would
You're
definitely...
the tale teller, right?
But yes,
Right,
Thing.
but saying too much, not all at once, maybe not my strong suit.
Okay.
But I'll go check in on Silvergrare's children. Make sure they're okay. I have a bad feeling in my gut.
Okay, so Grudek's going to the kids. Thistle's going to find Tim.
If
C
he's
is-
not busy or sleeping.
I think Shadow wanted to
I'm
find.
going to go with
uh,
C to talk to the rest of Silverglare's pack until we get to Rips.
Okay.
In which case,
Okay. That'd be Rips and Tea Tree. I think that's it. Oh, and Sky Teeth, but you haven't met him. Well, you met him very briefly, but you didn't even get his name. So yeah, okay. But you would recognize Rips or Tea Tree, obviously. All right, so Grudek will be heading to the tent area where people sleep, and then near that there's the smaller of the two cabins where the youngest kids tend to hang out.
Bridge Runner sleeps in there or outside?
He is not asleep at the moment. He's just hanging out near it, like near the door. He's just like reading a book or something, chilling. Tim and Tea Tree are actually together, and they are they're kind of hanging out in the amphitheater because there's just a lot of seating there, even when there's not things going on. Sometimes people who don't want to talk right next to the living area go hang out in the amphitheater. So that's where they are. And was there anybody else people were looking for?
Rips.
Oh yeah, Rips is not obviously anywhere right now. He's not visible at the moment.
Tea tree first, then.
Okay.
So, C approaches tea tree.
And she was in the middle of asking Tim something. They seem to be. It sounds like they're going over the thing that Silverglare was telling you about, the Black Spiral attack in April. It sounds like she's asking him some questions again about, what happened with that, and did you see this? But she breaks off when you.
Yeah, I'll stay back and stay quiet as I was also looking for Tim, but like.
Okay.
What is Tim's formal rank?
What's his rank? He's an elder. He's rank 5.
I mean, like his role, like his title.
He's the caern warder.
Caern warder.
He's the top of the defense hierarchy. As far as military stuff goes, he's the boss.
Yeah.
Yep. He is an Arun and a huge one like Shadow, that not quite as tall, but he's close.
He's sort of the defensive counterpart to what Silverglare does on offense, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Right. And he's also her direct superior. And he's huge. Long gray ponytail, kind of hippie vibe, but huge. So. Like a huge hippie, basically.
Yeah. So C approaches.
To do a couple of those.
Tea tree.
C, hello?
Yes, I needed to speak to you for just a moment. Sorry, caern warder. Sorry to interrupt. I think Thistle was looking for you as well.
Oh, Tim looks around and he spots Thistle and gives her a little wave, like, hey, and then holds up a finger, like, just a second. Because he's obviously going to defer to the Sept leader, whatever she and C need to talk about. But he gives Thistle a little gesture, like, yeah, just hang on a second. I'll be right with you. And tea tree just sort of tips her head a little bit at C and looks at him curiously and expectantly.
We have just returned from an expedition with Silverglare, and she wanted us to pass some news on to you.
Well, you move fast. I appreciate that. What did you find?
Silverglare had assigned us to the reconnaissance of the black spirals that we had encountered on our what's the name of the on our rite of passage, and upon doing a little bit more digging, we found something a little more dangerous, perhaps some tunnels leading down to where potentially more black spirals live beneath the city. Silverglare wanted us to let you know that she would be staying to scout the area for the night, and she'd be returning tomorrow.
This is exactly what I was worried about in April, that they would decide to dig in here, and I don't want to say I told you so. And Tim, normally Mr. Stoic, he just glances skyward ever so briefly, and for him that's the equivalent of a full-on eye roll. But he doesn't say anything. He stays silent. So what evidence did you find of their continued presence here exactly?
I kind of pull open my journal and flip to the book where I had found the symbol. We found this painted on the walls in the basement of the facility.
All right, that's not going to be a coincidence. But they were not present. You didn't actually swap them?
We did not encounter any of them, but Grudek sensed a strong, even stronger than in the building itself, taint of worm in the tunnels that had been sealed off beneath the basement.
All right. And this is definitely getting into the Bone Gnawers area of expertise. This is not my territory, the city itself. So we'll have to coordinate with them, unfortunately. That's not going to go over very well with some of the Sept members, but they need to overcome their reluctance on that.
This is a time of utmost danger. I think the guru should be unified for this.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir on that one, but unfortunately, though I am the Sept leader, I do try to take into account the preferences of some of our other elder members, she says with a slight glance toward the caern center where March Lion is napping in lupus form with his little tail over his nose. Elderly wolf. All right. All right, I'll need some time to decide what to do next. Is there anything else that you need to report about your excursion? Where is Silver Glare?
Silver Glare stayed behind to scout the area and keep an eye on the location. She wanted us to let you know that she would be staying there for the evening.
All right. That's probably wise. I don't like the idea of not having eyes on the area, especially if you didn't actually spot them. I don't know where they are, if they're on the move. Tim, you should contact Helen. Have her check for that van, the yellow van that was here before. We still have the license number. Just have her, do a sweep of the city and see if she can find the vehicle. That's all I can think of at the moment, but all right. Thank you so much for your report. And Tim, I believe Thistle wanted to speak with you. I'm going to head back to my cabin, but if you think of anything else, by all means, come and knock on the door.
Have you seen Hot Eye around? I actually need to speak with him.
I believe he is having a rest, but you can wake him if you wish. He'll be in one of the tents.
All right.
And I'll be in my cabin if you need me. Just knock. Please
right.
do knock first.
As you wish.
I would sort of like look over towards Tim before he starts heading over towards Thistle. Excuse me, Caern Warder. Have you seen Rips?
He's sleeping right now. But, like Tea Tree said, if you need something, you can wake him up. He's usually in the red tent.
Thank you.
C looks over his shoulder at Shadow. Good luck. I need to go and speak to Hot Eye as well. And C hasn't spoken to Hot Eye about learning sense magic, so that's what he's going to go do.
Okay.
Thistle will very quickly to see. We should make sure those photos get printed tomorrow, especially.
Yes. I'll take you down to a print. I'll take you down to a print shop and also that secondary stop you needed tomorrow.
Thanks.
Did you need something?
I just wanted to. Well, it's sort of two things. I know that we sort of talked about, or I assume I would. Yeah. We sort of talked about after finishing the rite passage stuff, learning.
It's like the healing gift, right? That you're.
Yeah, it's Mother's Touch. I just don't know how do we use the.
Yeah, I think that
names?
that they've given them names like.
Mm-hmm. Names can vary from sept to sept and region to region, but
I don't have to describe sort of the thing I want.
Right? Yeah. No, but
the children of Gaia
they have common names that are usually
and the children of Gaia have specifically named that one Mother's Touch because Mother Gaia, is the healer of all and whatever. So he would know what you meant.
Learning Mother's Touch potentially at some point.
Yeah.
If you've got time.
Yeah, this is probably a good time to do that because things could get dangerous here. So the more healers we have among us, the better. So we can go and do that. And I assume that all of you, like right now, are basically simultaneously seeking out mentors to try to learn tribal
Yep.
gifts, right? So
Yes.
it's going to be happening more or less simultaneously.
Except for
Um,
mine, who's
also-
camped out down in the city.
Poor Tig.
He's got other plans to do, though.
But first,
Warning.
I'll make sure we finish Thistle's conversation here, and then I'll go into how the gift learning thing goes down. Yeah, I wouldn't. That I can find just the spirit for that.
Right. I also wanted to ask, I guess, so it seems like my mom, who I totally gave a name.
Amelia.
Thank you. My mom, Amelia, she and probably Frank too are getting a little bit like nervous. I know obviously they don't know about the werewolf thing, any of that.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Would it at all be? Would you be able to? It would be convenient if I could say I was staying with you or something. If that's
Yeah.
something that's passable. If it's not, that's fine too.
Yeah, that's cool. Basically my human identity is that I'm a ranger here at the park,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I'm here pretty much all the time. So, you can just tell her if it's
And
plausible.
you just don't get cell service that much because you're working.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, anybody can look up the
Mhm.
park and see that there's no cell service here. So, if your mom would believe it, you can tell her you've gotten interested in doing stuff here at the park, and that I'm teaching you the ropes, and that you might want to be a park ranger one day or something. I don't know if that would make any sense to her, but I'm
I
happy to.
mean, I feel like I can play that in some sort of angle. If I just wanted to make sure that wasn't going to be a problem. I know that you're busy with other more important stuff.
No, it's fine.
Nice.
I may not always be around for you especially if there's fighting going on. I'm in charge of that. But mostly things have been pretty peaceful here up till now, since April anyway. This place is really well guarded by the spirits, so I don't always have a whole lot to do, and I'm happy. Even if you need me to go into town and make an appearance and like explain things to your mom. I've done this before. I have another daughter in the city. She's a police officer. She knows what's going on with us more or less.
Mhm.
That didn't turn out well with her mom, so I just decided after that not to even try to let people in on this part of my life. But anyway, I do have one daughter in the city who
Really,
who
just
knows.
like my mother, she already thinks I'm kind of weird and crazy. If she thinks of this as another rebellious phase or whatever, that'll probably get her to
Yeah,
question it less.
yeah,
I think she'd probably be pretty comfortable letting me learning about my birth father run its course.
yeah. And I'm used to having to make up explanations for stuff because I got to deal with people in the city sometimes. And so if
Yeah.
you need me to back you up on anything, just let me
Mhm.
know. I'm here for you.
It shouldn't be a huge issue. I've been working with my pack on sort of establishing why I'm not around as much, but
That's great. I'm so glad that you found yourself a pack already. I miss mine sometimes, and it's a good thing to have.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably fairly obvious during this conversation that even without really thinking about it, every half minute or so, Thistle will sort of glance towards other parts of the cairn where members of the pack are or would be.
And Tim just kind of smiles to himself, like a little bit like a parent seeing their kid in love for the first time, just like, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't you run along and see what your pack's up to, and I'll be here if you need
Yeah.
anything. And he just smiles and gives her a wave and wanders off into the woods to do who knows what mysterious werewolf things.
Yep.
Or maybe just take a leak.
And
you
then
know?
we transition to people learning their gifts, I assume.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Tim will at some point also come collect you. But basically what this consists of is that whoever your particular mentor is, they will accompany you stepping sideways, which is very easy to do here at the caern, just like slipping through the surface of the water. And then they introduce you to a spirit which everybody but Thistle will not be able to communicate with at all. But your mentor is familiar enough with the spirit that they're able to instruct it in what to do. And, it takes no more than an hour of sort of communion with the spirit, a sort of prayer-like trance. And then the knowledge occurs to you just as though it's something that you knew already how to do. And you just remembered, right, that's how it works. It's something that feels so natural to you and so much a part of you that you're not even sure you just learned it, but that you remembered it. In Shadow's case, it's that mastery of fire. And then Thistle's learning how to heal.
I've got a few things. Mine takes a bit longer.
What are your things?
I can learn all of
Shadow?
these from Rips because he's both my tribe and auspice. But I'm learning Mastery of Fire, Resist Pain, Visage of Fenris, and Inspiration.
Okay.
Mine takes a while.
Yeah, you're
most of those can
for
be
a few
taught by the
hours.
same spirit. One of them has to be taught by the bear or bear or badger.
Yeah, so like potentially after the bear spirit that teaches me Mother's Touch is done goes
Yeah, so
coaxed over
you're
towards
probably
Shadow.
all kind of like doing this near one another, if not like directly cooperating. And so some of the same spirits are, but they're all very friendly with the various Sept members, and at the point where the spirits are all sort of starting to cooperate and like share their gifts with various people, March Lion does wake up and step sideways and just sort of observe. He doesn't interfere, but you notice that when he appears, like the spirits seem to calm down a lot. Like your mentors are able to sort of communicate with their various tribal spirits, and they're somewhat friendly, but they seem a little skittish, a little reluctant. March Lion just shows up, and they're all like, "Oh, okay, this is cool." And then everything goes much smoother and faster, and he doesn't even do anything. He just sits there in lupus form, existing. And then when you all get finished long before Shadow does, and so you're able to step back sideways. And if you want to do anything else around the cairn while you wait for Shadow to finish, I know kung fuing like 4 different gifts. You may do that. If there's anyone else you want to talk to or check in with. I know Grudek was checking in with the kids. They're just sound asleep. Siobhan and Oshi are both just out like lights in the smaller cabin. And Bridge Runner will let you go in and check on them if you ask, but they're just out.
Okay. Yeah, he goes in and just sort of, busies himself around for a little bit, readjusting blankets and making sure they have water, and then we'll walk back out, close the door, and sort of. You said he's sitting on. Does he have a folding chair? What's he doing?
Yeah, it's just like it's like one of those kind of folding chairs that's got like a sort of canvas seat in it, like good for outdoor stuff. And he's just sitting in there reading a book.
Greta comes out and I think sort of stands awkwardly off to the side for a little bit, and then says, "They're used to her being gone, huh?"
He closes the book, and then he seems to take a minute to withdraw himself from whatever he was reading and reorient himself in the real world and parse the question. Oh, you mean Karen's kids? Yeah. I mean, they're like you. They grew up in this life. They know what it's about. I don't know whether to say they're lucky or unlucky, but yeah, from day one they've known what the Guru are and that their mom's one of them. So we're kind of one big village here. They love their mom, and she obviously means a lot to them, but we're all their family here, and so they don't get too upset when she's gone.
That's
They're-
good.
Yeah.
That's good. It looks like he's about to start to say something else, and then he stops himself and says, "Well, I probably should go track down Hot Eye, but anything else I can do to help?"
No, you've been you've almost been too much of a help. My job wasn't that complicated to begin with, and now I got so much help I don't have much to do but catch up on my reading. So just carry on doing what you're doing, I guess.
Grodek chuckles a little bit at that, and he taps his pocket where he stuffed that beat-up paperback that he was reading earlier in the day, and he says, "That's a good problem to have. You let me know if you need any more problems like that." And then we'll sort of give him a little wave, tip his ridiculous giant cowboy hat, and wander off in the direction of where he thinks Hot Eye might be.
Okay, and same situation with Hot Eye where he's looking to learn a new gift, or was there something else you wanted to talk to him?
No, yeah, this would be, I guess, before we went into the Umbra, because yeah, he would need Hot Eye to teach him the Metis gift.
Okay. So that same general description applies.
Yeah. That conversation probably goes, Hot Eye, sorry to interrupt. I was talking to a rat earlier today, and it gave me an idea.
Yeah. And I'm sure Hot Eye has heard it all before. So yeah, he's happy to hop over into the Umbra with Grodek and teach him how to squeeze into tiny little spaces at the size of his head without the hat.
Yeah, it's going to be awful when it happens. It's just, I imagine it being horrible.
I actually shudder to think of that gift in use. The thought of my squeezing myself into a little narrow passage that's only big enough for my head and then continuing to, no, that's just not my thing.
You just get the long, distended fingers pulling yourself
I'm just imagining
forward.
it with Star Trek teleporter effects. Like you put your head there to confirm it is large enough, and then the Star Trek teleporter just shoots the rest of your body through.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
I realize that's not how it actually works, but that's funny.
That would be a much more comfortable method.
Just
yeah.
lots of bones popping and meat going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
When Ty gets back over the rock, the first thing he does is goes and stows his new clothing in his tent.
Okay.
And then he's going to take however long it takes to probably head kind of northeast of the amphitheater, find a mildly secluded spot, and shift into lupus form.
Okay.
And since he doesn't have anybody to take him stepping sideways yet, he's going to just try and get sort of a wolf's eye view of the cairn, try and familiarize himself from that perspective with the surrounding. Okay. And if he can, he's going to range out as far as he can go to sort of the boundary, try and see if he can in any way tell sort of the extent of the bawn, how far the boundary goes, what's on the perimeter as far as what things look like, and if he runs into anybody, he'll just be there, I guess, and see who or what he can find.
Yeah. So there's a very clear outer boundary to the bawn, or at least the inner part of the sept, because there's a perimeter that there's no way of exiting, because on the one side there's that high cliff that the little waterfall comes down, where the source of the stream
Mhm.
And then there's that cliff on the one side, and then everything around it, all the way back around to that boulder that you leap over, is just such densely grown vegetation that there's no way through it unless you had a bunch of machetes.
Mhm.
So he can pretty easily just find the perimeter of it, and it's clearly been allowed to grow this way to keep anybody from wandering in, even if they should know there's something there. It's just not possible to get in physically,
Mhm.
except over that boulder. And yeah, and as if he's walking the entire perimeter of it, he will notice a couple of guardians doing basically the same thing. He'll recognize Cher, just wandering around, just walking the boundary, and then also another guy that he hasn't seen before, just like a white dude with glasses, wandering around doing basically the same thing. It's like those two are on watch tonight, and that's just what they do, is patrol the perimeter.
Yep. He'll greet them, but just continue what he's doing unless they decide to stop him and ask him anything.
The guy with glasses is just sort of like, hey, and Cher greets him in Russian. And he assumes it's a greeting. It could have been a curse for all he knows.
Right. He can't speak Russian when he's a wolf, so he'll just reply in Guru and keep going.
Yep. Anybody else doing anything other than learning gifts? And then once you have returned from the Umbra with all of your new knowledge, are you going to head back to sleep, or is there anything else you want to explore, check out in the area?
I mean, if and when Tig's done being curious about things, Thistle will probably pull him aside and just establish, what are you okay with in terms of pretending to be romantic other, and like just sort of basic getting the story straight between the two members with like criminal background-y abilities.
Conspiring.
So when Thistle finds Tig, or when Tig wanders back into the tents, how good is Thistle at like visual comparisons and things like that?
Pretty good. Has a lot of dots in intelligence and pop culture, if that's what you're looking at. Like,
not so much. More that, so Tig comes back in, and I don't think Z's ever seen him in. I don't think anybody's seen him in lupus form yet.
no.
Right. He's got a rich red wolf kind of demeanor to him, but he is only maybe an inch or two shorter at the shoulder than Shadow is in lupus form. He is massive, which is definitely not what one would expect given his normal appearance. But he'll sort of just brain talk because that's easier, and he doesn't feel like switching out of quadruped right now.
Yeah.
Nah, as far as putting things on, what were you expecting or hoping for?
So in terms of clothes, we can figure that out tomorrow. I've got a fair amount of stuff that parents sure as hell don't know I have. But in terms of like, you okay with physical contact, holding, that sort of thing? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
PDA is uncomfortable for them, but you know.
So, question: are you having this conversation like in your mind, right? So
yeah.
So to
I'm
appearances, you're just like sitting there.
That
so
is
you're just like
going to everyone else in the group chat.
That's a good question. Can we privately brain talk to each other, or is it something like if you're talking, everybody can hear it?
Definitely not at this point. It may be that in time you can learn to refine it, but right now it's like everybody.
Everyone's hearing this.
It like, you know, Slack chat. Occasionally, two people will be having a back and forth about something,
right?
And you'll just be hearing your phone buzz and looking at it and going, I don't know what the flail thing is. Or, I think that's something about werewolves.
But To the rest of the Sept, it appears that there's just like Lupus, Tig, and Hamid Thistle just kind of hanging out there in silence.
Thistle is not gonna try and transform right now without any rage.
Yeah, just looking sort of like you're deep in thought, both of you, just to all appearances.
Thistle will probably actually, like, at some point during this experiment with essentially pulling out the phone and looking at it, probably with the screen on something either innocuous or off, and seeing how well Z can pass off mental talking as looking like absorbed in phone.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good cover because everybody looks hypnotized when they're staring at a screen.
Yeah, just sort of that thing where it's like, I'm really into this video or thing. Like, see how well that can just pass off for casual viewing.
Yeah, good idea.
But it basically looks like they're talking. They're not talking to each other. They're just sort of standing there mutually spacing out.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, but no, I can do whichever you're planning on. I mean, there's a time when me and some mates were having a push a distraction on a shopkeep who was a little too alert for our purposes there, and it was either going to be two of us were going to stage a fight or a makeout session, and the second one happened to be I've kissed a guy before, is what I'm saying, and
I'm not a guy, but yeah, same difference.
No, you understand though. Acting is acting.
Yeah. I just like they act like you're all fancy and noble and shit. I don't want to fuck with that if there's some propriety thing.
Well, I mean, to an extent, that can sometimes be considered to be, but when you're Agabash, you can sort of get away with anything as long as you make it look like it's something that you meant to do in the first place.
Okay.
And it's in service of the Veil, right? So, yeah.
It is. It is totally in service of the Veil.
Yeah.
Right? That counts.
100%.
Yeah.
Thistle's parents are like the number one danger to the Veil right now. They're persistent as hell. All right. Anybody else?
No. Tygo basically can communicate. He'll wear whatever. He'll do whatever. It sounds hilariously fun, and this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, the Ragabash
Thistle will lay out some sort of basic plan of essentially, I'm going to come back with you, introduce you as a boyfriend, with the implication of many. And you're like you're here for art college or something.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Urban arts.
Everybody's nightmare of a boyfriend for their child.
Like a different kind of night fear. Like, I feel like there are 4 different kinds of nightmares depending on who had volunteered. Tig is the crazy foreign artist that they're not quite sure what the hell.
But also aren't going to call the cops.
Like the way too serious about this. Shadow could probably pull off actively dangerous. And Grudek probably looks, at least in Hamid form, way too old for you.
Yeah.
Also albinoid, so I'm not sure if that's...
Yeah, that would just be slightly unsettling to someone who wasn't used to seeing that, probably. And makes him look even older because his hair is white, so...
Yeah.
That would just not be a good visual.
And after that conversation, Tig will go to sleep.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else doing any other business?
Yes. C, after finishing with his learning rites, he just kind of sits down outside of the sleeping areas and just pulls out his journal and is just, for probably the next hour or two, is just frantically writing down notation, trying to make plans, trying to follow avenues, trying to figure out where the hell they need to be going on investigating any of this and where they can find anything. And I know this isn't technically how the merit works, but if possible, I would like to try and call upon his ancestors for potential inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Probably not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. There's things. We'll get there.
Yeah, but he's just kind of, he's probably going to fall asleep while he's like just in the middle of this, just trying to Sherlock Holmes his way into like, what is next? Where do we follow? Where can I find something else? Just scribbling in his journal. Rapidly.
So shortly after he kind of nods off over his journal, he feels somebody sort of gently poke him on the shoulder a little bit. And he hears a voice say, hey. And Estrella is standing there. She's obviously been, keeping an eye on him. She's like, yeah, you fell asleep over your book there. I couldn't help but notice. You might be more comfortable in a tent.
He kind of snaps it shut real quick before she can see any of what's written. Yes, sorry.
What were you working on? It looked really absorbing.
Investigations. We've got a little bit of work from Silverglare about the black spirals we encountered on our rite of passage.
Oh, wow. That sounds dangerous.
It is, and I need to have all the avenues locked down.
Yeah, well, it's good that they have somebody who can do all that planning and stuff, because it looks like the rest of your pack is just sound asleep.
I'm not.
Oh, they all have their own roles.
He's still in the Umbra, probably.
I was about to say, can I get a sense of why she's asking me this? Has she just been watching me for no apparent reason, or
do perception and empathy?
I'm actually
6?
right behind her, just towering and staring down.
Perception, empathy, difficulty 6.
As that's being asked, can I just... I know Tig and I said we were going to sleep. Do we see the moon at some point or no?
Yeah. So by the time you guys get back from the Umber and everything, the moon is high enough in the sky that even with the trees around the edges, you can see it, and it's a waning gibbous moon. So you get back. Grudak gets back all his rage because gibbous moon, and then the rest of you get the waning moon rage, which is
a number.
1 second.
Sorry.
Waning Moon is 2 points.
Yay.
Yeah. 2 points of
rage
rage.
and my willpower are even.
Oh, my rage.
I wasted my gibbous because I haven't used any rage.
Oh, rats. So
I don't botch, but I don't get any successes because I rolled 2 successes and 2 1s.
Okay, yeah, so you have no idea why she's asking.
I should get some sleep. And he kind of tucks the journal into his jacket and heads into the tents to sleep.
Yeah. All right, she just calls goodnight after him.
Good night. And passes out on a bed immediately after.
All right, so by the time you get to bed at a slightly more decent hour. This time it's somewhere between 10 and 11. It's hard to tell the exact time unless you have a phone on you to check. But yeah, it's somewhere between 10 and 11 by the time you all get to bed. So you're probably up at a more decent hour the next day, Friday. By around 7 or 8 o'clock, there's enough activity in the Sept that it would probably wake you up because you're no longer sleeping like the dead at this point. You've kind of caught up.
We're slowly adjusting Tig to this side of the pond bio clock thing.
Indeed. And you all have your new tribal gifts, and so you have that going for you.
I drink whatever soup Grudak prepares straight from the bowl without waiting for it to cool. Just...
Probably, it's actually probably an oatmeal in the mornings.
I drink the oatmeal. I know that's not how you're supposed to eat oatmeal, but he drinks the oatmeal.
It's like the scene from Beauty and the Beast. Grudak is dabbing at your beard.
Yeah. So once all of you are awake and visible outside of the tents and kind of the eating area, the eating area is slightly set off from the sleeping area just because people tend to talk a little bit and you don't necessarily want to wake up everybody. And once you're all sort of gathered there and visible, a wolf runs up to you. Shadow would probably recognize her easiest, but you've all seen her before. She was at the meeting where you all got your induction into the Sept. Kind of a wiry, smallish
Brushfire or
lupus.
yeah.
Yep. Dark fur with kind of rusty tips to it. Looks like a sort of a dark wolf that has rusted a little bit. Young looking. She runs up to you guys and sits down, sort of belatedly seems to remember to shift to Hamid form. So she's now sitting on the ground near where you're eating, wearing her usual, just very basic, primitive looking, undyed cloth, just sort of wrapped around her for modesty and comfort and absolutely no fashion sense whatsoever. And she looks a lot like Estrella, actually, because she's got the same wiry kind of look. She sort of looks at all of you and says, so, hi. Before you guys leave, I'm Brushfire. I haven't introduced myself to all of you.
Thistle, Zers.
See.
Hi. So.
Tig, why are you in that form?
I am. I'm the caller of the wild here, which means I know the local spirits pretty well. So I want to, since you're all here, just take you quickly into the Umbra and introduce you to the owl spirits that guide friendly people into the caern on the Umbra side. The way she talks, you can tell that she has to kind of think about every word before she says it. She's obviously been interacting with Hamids for a long time, but she's still not 100% fluent.
Thistle will immediately perk up. Yeah. Yes, see, can we?
Understanding the challenge that it is to talk to Hamids with their tongue, I just lean over and go, "You're doing very well, Brushfire."
And she just turns and gives him this look like, "Don't condescend to me, you
Which is
bastard."
completely missed by Shadow.
Exactly. She clearly does not like Shadow for some reason, but she seems perfectly friendly to the rest of you. So
Would normally be angry, but is so excited about the spirits.
So yes, when you approach on the Umbra side, there are magical defenses that will keep you lost unless you follow one of these owls, but they will not show you unless they know you. So we have to go, and I will introduce each of you as Sept members now. And she's almost finished talking when Bridge Runner saunters up, and he says, "I beg your pardon. I think if somebody's going to be doing that, it really ought to be up to me, given that I'm a Theurge. Also, I outrank you." And yeah, so I'm thinking that if we're going to do this morning, then this is my job and not yours. And she kind of looks at him and she says, "But I'm the caller of the wild. I'm one of the spiritual servants of the Sept. You are the den father. They're not cubs anymore. They're Cleof. You don't have any authority over them anymore." And they just kind of stare each other down for a minute. And finally, Bridge Runner says, "Do I need to call Rips in here?"
Grudek kind of holds out a hand and says, "You both are such wonderful teachers," and kind of looks over towards C and says, "Maybe you could both take us."
Yeah, see, kind of.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. I'm not going in there with a rank 1 Arun who thinks she's gonna interface with the spirits that I've been talking to for 10 years. So it's up to y'all. I'll let you pick. You want to go with her, or you want to go with me?
C kind of steps forward. Well, I absolutely don't doubt that you are perhaps the best qualified for this Bridge Runner, but this seems to be a relatively routine and simple task, and perhaps this can be a moment for Brushfire to prove themselves in this regard, to show what they can do and be capable of in their role as the Keeper of the Wilds, or Caller of the Wilds. Sorry, he would say it right.
Right. So Bridge Runner just gives C a long, long look, and he says, "Was Thistle going to speak before he does?"
Thistle's not going to interrupt.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, he hasn't quite spoken yet. He's still just looking at C.
And
If there's a pause there, Thistle will. And then I can also sort of be the theurge in a situation. I really appreciate how much help you've given, but I'd like to try and make the effort to see if I can do this without hand-holding, if that's okay. I know that's not.
Well, I left it up to y'all, so you made your choice, and I'll respect that.
I mean,
But there's something in his tone that says, "All right, you've made your choice."
I mean, C just kind of very, very amicably just kind of puts his arms out wide, indicating both Brushfire and Thistle's like, this is an opportunity for growth and experience on all sides. I appreciate your veterancy and the wisdom and skill that you possess, but I think this should be a simple enough matter for a relatively new guru to undertake.
Yeah.
And across the brainwave, you just hear Ty go, "Sovereign fucking Jesus, have we stepped inside a big arse pile of shite or what?"
And Bridge Runner just looks at C and says, "Yeah, I guess I should have seen this coming when they put you in charge. All right." He just walks up.
It is my task to behave with fair judgment.
I would like.
Parties.
Yeah, real fair.
I would like to make a charisma intimidation roll. In response to that.
Okay. Difficulty 7.
What do I know? What tribe the individuals of them both are?
Well,
I'm pretty sure I do.
Yeah, Brushfire
Given-
is March Lion's cub, so she's a Kenna. Bridge Runner is Children of Gaia, and he had told you that when he first introduced himself, so you would remember probably in character, because it hasn't been as long for you guys in character as it has out of character. So yeah, he's Children of Gaia, Brushfire is Uktena.
So with probably a bit more bite than it should be, C just kind of, as he starts to walk, this is not about your tribe.
And he just kind of
3
makes
successes.
a real
As
sarcastic
I
whatever
stand
shrug
up,
gesture without
as
even
I
looking
stand
back.
up, like sort of behind C. This would have been as he was making that comment to C. So I just sort of stand up behind C and just insert myself as a watch your tone kind of presence.
How many
3.
successes was it? Okay.
Once Bridge Runner has walked off, Thistle will look to. I'm sorry, go to Brushfire.
Yeah.
Thanks. We'll look to Brushfire. I know I'm not a very experienced theurge, but I hope you don't mind me. I'm excited to learn from people, and
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you for picking me. It's not his job. I'm the caller of the wild. It's not his job. You picked right.
Yes, I've gathered that there's a lot of tension around here. I'm trying to solve it as amicably as I can, but there's a note of frustration to his voice that is just that underlying thing that he can't quite stamp out.
I put a reassuring hand on C's shoulder and just.
He's the den father. His job is to watch the cubs. You're not cubs.
No, we're
She
not.
just says it it's obvious you made the right choice. So,
At this point, Tig comes across the brainwaves again and probably will be doing just that and not actually vocalizing anything out loud for the immediate future. Alright, well, this whole thing is fascinating and all, but have none of you read the fucking bloody litany lately?
Across the brainwaves, front to back 3 times last night, actually.
Higher station, lad.
Yes, he is Gru of higher station. This is a matter of the clans bickering.
Thistle will sort of.
Tig, actually do an intelligence and rituals difficulty 7.
Okay. Let me see here. You said difficulty 7 on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And actually, what he responds with is actually, yes, and respect those beneath ye, all are Gaia.
One
respect
success.
the territory of another.
Yeah.
1 success. And anybody else actually who wants to kind of do some quick thinking about this situation can do intelligence and rituals difficulty 7 also. You got 1 success, Tig?
Yes.
So basically, after your initial burst of, respect those higher in station or whatever, you just feel this faint little qualm of doubt. 5 successes for C. Okay.
This is my job.
Yeah, that's his job.
Yeah.
C, you would know that it was a much more complicated choice than it might have seemed at first blush to Tig, because you know what the Sept positions are supposed to do, and the caller of the wild is strictly under that spiritual hierarchy. The Den Father is not, has nothing to do with spiritual matters. So the weird thing here is not that she wouldn't defer to a Theurge who was higher in station than her. The weird thing is that a Theurge who was higher in station than her would not have her position in the first place. He should be the caller of the wild or the keeper of the land or something. He should be on that side of the management, and he isn't. So that's the weird thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's why it got complicated and strange.
Mm-hmm.
No, and the litany is always subject to lots of variations in interpretation anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, and he should have, even though she was beneath him in rank, he should have respected the position that she was granted by the Sept, but at the same time, she should have deferred to him and done whatever he said because he was high rank. So it was a complicated decision.
So many layers. I love it.
Paradox is here, and then he had just made his call with all that information.
Mm-hmm.
So and in C's mind, there's minor violation of one aspect of the litany, which is yielding to those of higher station, whereas Bridge Runner's act was in slightly more significant violation of 2 different aspects of the litany, which is respecting those beneath you and acknowledging another's territory.
Yeah.
How deep into this discussion do you want to get?
About exactly what Z said. I'd really like to try this. One, there's the respecting the Uctena's history with this particular location. And 2, I'd really like to try being a Theurge without hand-holding, because everyone else has gotten to be their auspice without a mentor directly in the area.
And back across the pack communication, Shadow will pipe up. I am not as familiar with the litany as the rest of you. However, all cubs must learn to hunt on their own. It is disrespectful to try to force your way on one who needs to learn.
Yeah, Thistle will... is now a good time for you, or to brush fire?
If you have time, I don't know what humans do in the mornings. I know you do city things sometimes, but if you don't have to do city things right now, I can go right now with you. I'm always here.
Yeah, it seems like our responsibilities are going to be taking us out into the city later today. Hey, so if now's a good time, unless
Yes.
he stops me and says no.
Yeah, see, kind of looks over his shoulder and nods. Says, "Well, yes. If we could do this now, I've got some conversations to have apparently before we leave."
Okay, let's go. And without further ado, she vanishes, one could only assume, into the Umbra.
Step sideways.
Step
Thistle will
sideways.
Follow.
Yeah, and go ahead and do the roll to
What's
step
the roll again?
sideways.
Gnosis difficulty of whatever the local gauntlet is, which I think we said was 3, Michelle?
It's 4, I believe here.
4,
No,
okay.
it is 3. You're right. Yep.
Sorry,
is
not trying to
just
step on your
clicking
toes
on
there.
the Gnosis thing going to prompt
It'll
that?
pop up the
Okay.
pool mod and then difficulty.
With my shades, it's difficulty 1. Do I need to roll?
Nope.
5 successes.
I don't know if I need to roll because I have double that in Gnosis, but I'm going to roll anyways.
Sure.
3, if that's enough.
Yep.
I assume there's something reflective nearby we can utilize.
Taig, look into my glasses.
Look into my eyes.
If not, Thistle will pull out a pile of hand mirrors
Shadow just...
and distribute them to the
I'm
group.
apparently very good at stepping
Yeah.
sideways.
That was my bad because I forgot to Brushfire would have had to use a reflective surface to step over. So there is in the eating area, there's just like literally a standing mirror, like the kind you would have in the corner of a house, like an oval mirror on a stand, and it's just there by the eating area for people to use for that
Cool.
purpose.
Get there on the like waiting on the other side.
How many successes did you all have?
5.
2.
Okay, so those of you with 2 successes, the others, if you've got 3 or more, you're instantly just like slipping through the surface of the water. The others of you, there's about 30 seconds of this feeling of kind of trying to swim through something a little bit jelly-like. It's warm. It's not all that unpleasant, sort of womb-like, but it takes about 30 full seconds before you're clear of it and standing with the rest of your
Thistle
pack.
and Shadow were there first.
If Brushfire assumedly is still in the same part, how does she seem to... I don't know if she's been in the Umbra with me before. How does she seem to respond to my twigs? If I
she's
make it
staring. She's still in Hamid form, and her mouth is slightly ajar, and she's just sort of staring in fascination, but not saying anything or seeming like freaked out, just like,
Thistle
Catch
will...
fly spirits with your mouth open.
she closes her mouth. Hearing the alpha dad tone in his voice without even remembering that she hates him, she just responds instinctively to alpha wolf.
All right.
Thistle will...
What is that?
I have... Tim is a parent of mine. I also have a parent that is the tree spirit that's Tim's friend.
Tim's tree? Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right,
I should
Brushfire,
have
Thistle.
said
This
something
is
beforehand.
Brushfire, Thistle. This is your area of expertise. If the two of you could lean on.
Okay, I'll call them. That's what I do.
Thank you.
I'll call them. And can you talk to them?
I can. The rest of them can't. Is that okay?
You tell them what you need to tell them. I have to call them, but it will be better if you can explain. I'm not as good at talking to them.
That's
So she
fine. Thank you
she
so much
shifts
for your help.
she shifts back into lupus form and sits down and just lets out this very long, complicated howl. And 3 owls come swooping in through the trees. Um, 3 different varieties. One is very easily recognizable as a snowy owl, and the other 2 look like different sorts of owls that probably none of you recognize on sight. But everybody knows what a snowy owl looks like with those weird alien eyes and stuff. But it's 3 different types of owls that swoop in and perch on nearby branches of low-growing shrubs or low branches of trees so that they can see you clearly, and they just sort of, tilt their little owl heads and look at you.
I put the text for Spirit Magnet in the chat just in case
Okay.
there's something you want to change based on it. It doesn't give me any command or influence ability, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to be honest about what I am supposed to be or do if it fucks something up. Thistle will sort of begin the spirit speech. Hello, the Caller of the Wild says that you are the spirits that it guides Sept members to the grove.
Yes. 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 They all say in turn, looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of you just hear,
Yep.
You
We are new
are-
members of the Sept. I am.
Are new, yes. You smell of the rowan tree, says one of them.
Yes, I am the child of the tree and of Tim, the tree's friend.
Oh, they kind of look at each other. And these are your pack?
These are my pack, and I will go around and introduce all of them, probably in the very formal way of, this is Shadow, our Arun. He is strong and lupus. Just like sort of with sort of the ritualistic formality.
Okay, excellent.
This is Tig, our Ragabash. He is clever and sneaky.
Okay. And while Thistle is doing this long introduction, which none of you can really comprehend, you just know that there's some sort of strange communion going on between.
I'm assuming there's a pretty clear gesture to each of them as the introduction begins, if that's okay.
And all the while that Thistle is talking, you notice other spirits, like a little squirrel spirit here and like maybe another bird. They just gradually start converging on your position. Not quite ominously, but just like unusually for any of you who have been in the Umbra, solo or whatever. You've never noticed this really happening before. You usually kind of have to go looking for spirits, but they just sort of seem to be congregating one by one.
Exactly how Disney Princess is this getting?
It's like,
Thistle is very Umbra Disney Princess right now.
Yes.
How many Disney Princess described characters am I going to play? Because this is a constant theme of my characters.
Yeah, in fact, literally one of the birds towards the end of your introductions, literally one of the bird spirits comes and tries to land on Zer's shoulder.
I will let it, obviously.
It's just hanging out there like any bird would on a tree.
We seem to be attracting many spirits, I say to the rest.
Do we see Turtle anywhere?
No.
Yeah.
Please tell me the owl spirits are doing like the head thing.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Totally owl heads.
And this will go. And then at the end of those sort of ritualistic introductions, the Caller of the Wild asked me to speak. She told you to introduce us as a new pack.
So you belong here, and we will allow you past the boundary should you come here through the spirit world.
We are grateful for your assistance and your guidance.
And they, in turn, nod their heads at Thistle, and then they just take flight and wheel their way off back through the forest. But some of the other spirits just continue hanging around, like, cool, what's going on? What are they going to do next?
Are they super quiet like regular owls are when they leave?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Why are those chipmunks wearing baseball caps?
And Brushfire says to Thistle, "That was so cool."
Did I do it right?
Yeah, I need to learn to talk to them like that. I can only call them. I can't talk to them. I need to learn that. She looks slightly disgruntled. Apparently, this is not something that comes very easily to her. Shadow would know. She's an Arun, so yeah, that's not really her.
We'll look over at her. Why was this your job, Brushfire? Are you not a warrior?
Well, I am, but there was no Caller of the Wild.
That kind of.
I am glad I could
head
do
for a second.
the things I can to help you in your capacity and me in mine. And I do hope you are able to learn more of what. And I hope you're able to learn more of the speaking and the calling.
Me too. I'll ask my father more about it and see if he can help me more. But I do call them very well. Every moot you can see next moot, I'm very good.
Yeah, and Thistle will smile. And if there's anything that you do need my help with, I'm of course around to provide that service where it's applicable.
I was supposed to be part of your pack, actually, she suddenly blurts out, until he came and kicked me out.
Pointing at Shadow.
Who did she point at?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I will still accept your
Thistle will.
challenge anytime you wish to give it.
No. Dad said no.
I hope
Wait.
you find a good pack. Packs are important, and
Yeah, I have to be in the bridge pack until I find a better one.
You did very well. You were a huge help to us. Thank you so much.
She says the bridge pack like it's some kind of punishment.
I got sent to Coventry.
Thistle will sort of lean down towards the squirrel spirits and the little bird spirit that's the ones that are still here. It's nice to meet all of you in spirit speech. It's nice to meet all of you. Thank you so much for coming by.
You're
I'm
so
Thistle.
pretty. You're so pretty. I haven't seen you before, says the squirrel, and the bird says, I like this one.
Do they start singing Cinderella, Cinderella?
Will you stay here so that I can perch on you? Says the bird.
I don't think I'm supposed to stay here forever. But I really...
The bird looks disappointed.
Yeah. But I'm sure I'll be
Make
back
that
at some
bird
point.
cry.
Okay, come back soon.
Mm-hmm. It is so nice to meet all of you. I hope you know my pack as well. They're my friends.
Oh, yay, your pack. They don't talk much, do they?
Let me tell you a little secret.
Okay.
They can't speak the way we can.
Oh, how sad.
I know.
Well,
But
come
they
back
speak
soon.
their thing.
Come back soon. We like you.
This little sort of. I hope to.
Yay! The
Stand
squirrel
back up.
chitters with excitement and does a few little squirrely scampers.
Yeah.
And the bird
Probably
flies
this
in
very
circles
odd
around Thistle's
conversation
head.
of like Thistle sort of sitting down, talking to the squirrels and the birds.
Yeah, and from you guys' perspective, it mostly seems to be body language, like because even the animal spirits are not actually speaking animal speech. But you can tell there's some kind of communication going on, and very friendly, but it's utterly incomprehensible to you.
Michelle, what's the difficulty for Tig's curiosity roll here?
What is he curious? What would he be curious about exactly?
New location. Apparently secret paths in and out of the caern on this side. Where are these spirits coming from? Everybody has gotten to go here and learn shit, and I have not. Need I go on?
So he's just wanting to explore, basically, just run off and check things out.
Yeah, pretty much. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that would be like probably difficulty 6, I'd say.
Okay. He's keeping it together. All right.
Okay.
I
All right. So
believe see you, Tig, and Thistle have tasks to do.
Yes.
and I think C wanted also to speak to a couple people before you guys left, right? Or
Yes, I need to speak to. Is the highest ranking Uktena in the Sept right now Tea Tree?
Tea Tree is a child of Gaia.
Child of
The
Gaia, okay.
The
Marshline
highest
is the highest
ranking.
ranking
Yep.
Uktena.
Yep. And and then Hot Eye is rank 4.
Okay, so I need to speak to Marshline apparently.
Yeah. And we'll take a little break before you speak to him, so you can have some time to consider what you'll say, and I can get a drink, and we'll be back in about 15.
See you in a few minutes. And we're back.
Welcome back. And before everybody disperses to have their various conversations with Sept people, Grudek had wanted to address Brushfire, I believe.
Just continuing on with the conversation he was having with her, he started off by telling her she did a really great job and thanking her. And then he'll say, "I'm sorry for that unpleasantness with Bridgerunner. It seems like he thinks because of his auspice that this should be his job."
Oh, I don't know. Dad said I was the best person for it. So
Okay.
I just did what he said. I don't always understand what people are mad about around here. It doesn't make much sense to me. I just do what I'm told by my elders.
Grudek smiles sadly and says, I feel as though I often do understand what people are angry about, and trust me, it still doesn't make much sense.
That's what I suspected.
Thank you again very much, Brushfire. You did a wonderful job.
Yeah, and thank
You're
you
very
so
great.
much for letting me try stuff and try talking.
Yeah. She does she's still in Hamid form, but she does kind of like just a little wiggle like
Yeah.
an excited half-grown puppy might do. And then she, just stuffs back sideways and scurries on about whatever her normal business is. Probably back in lupus form.
When she's out of earshot, Grudek will turn to the others. I think especially C, because I'm sure C looks like he's ready to go running off, and say, "So it may not be quite as mysterious as we thought. It may just be good old-fashioned nepotism."
I need to speak to this Marsh Lion.
Completely understand that there's a ton of stuff going on and there's a lot of history to this. Just
through the
Thistle,
yes.
would you mind following me as I go to speak to Marsh Lion? I think showing the two unified halves of this very obvious divide in this cairn right now might be a little bit helpful.
It would be my
through
pleasure.
the mental link. Be wary. If what is stoking the tension and mistrust amongst the cairn is of the worm, no amount of logic may work. You may only serve to make things worse.
We
It
have
is
to at
worth
least try.
trying to speak for
It
peace.
is. I only say be careful.
We
I
will.
appreciate that.
Grudek nods and says, and see, trust me, I understand the inequity here, the ugliness of what happened before we stepped sideways. I understand that rankles, and I won't tell you to follow your instincts, but do tread lightly. We are relative newcomers here, and this conflict, it seems that it has roots that are decades old. And I'll step out of character
might
for a
not
second
be
and just
as
double check
familiar-
with
yeah.
Michelle. Am I right about that? The Children of Gaia came in, is it 80 years ago or in the 1980s? I feel like I have 80 in my head somewhere.
They actually came in, and I may have to retcon this later because my memory may not be correct, but the way I've been understanding it is that the Children of Gaia came in not long after the Europeans purged the native population so severely that they could no longer staff the cairn, and the Children of Gaia were the ones who came in to rescue them and say, like, we'll help.
Okay. So
Because they literally physically didn't have enough people left because they'd been, slaughtered and enslaved and other things. So
okay.
I
Well,
may not
then
be
I, as a
as
player, misunderstood. I think he would have said, instead of decades, he would have said centuries.
I may not be as familiar with the Garu specific experiences, but there's an American inevitability to understand the dubious history of I mean, I'm uncomfortable saying European exceptionalism because that implies the children of Gaia are European, which we're kind of, but we're also kind of not. But the same effect in a different context.
Yeah. The closest, and you may know this, Thistle may know this already, having had time to do some research, but the children of Gaia are probably the most diverse tribe there is, and the closest thing they have to a homeland is actually in the Middle East. But but there are a ton of obviously
it would be inaccurate to call the children of Gaia as a tribe white or European.
Yeah, but they're definitely not Native
But there's
American.
a connection to that history in terms of their relationship to the Uktena, specifically in this caern.
And they're counted as worm comers because they were not one of the three tribes that were here already. So, but they generally get along better with the three pure tribes, as they call themselves, than the other
two now.
tribes. Indeed, no longer free.
Tig just says, "Well, give me a shout if you need me for anything," and wanders off.
On the Umber side or on the physical side?
Oh, sorry. I thought we'd already gone to the physical side.
I assume we're on the physical side. I just wanted to clarify.
You step over at some point, I believe.
I'll wander off with Tig.
Thistle will. Tig, before we get in the car, I probably will want to dress you up.
Looking forward to it.
And what's Grudek going to be up to while C and Thistle talk to Marchline?
Did C and Thistle not want him to come with them?
If you want to come with, you're more than welcome.
I promise I'll hang back.
Trust me.
You don't.
Another face will only serve to make this more obvious that we mean something here.
Grudek smiles sadly and says, "The fact that you don't think any differently of this face than any other means a lot, see. But that may be a little bit kindly naive of you. But I appreciate it."
Hey, listen. If they're uncomfortable, systemic bias, whatever, you just fucking do it anyways and force them to show that they're being bullshit.
Yes, that's
they don't
worked
want
out
to
very
say
well for the Bone Gnawers.
I'm not Bone Gnawer. I'm me.
And I'm very glad that you are. And I'm very glad to be part of your pack. Come, let's go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's.
So Marchline is literally taking a nap in the middle of the actual heart of the cairn, that circle of 5 redwoods. He appears to be asleep with his tail over his nose, very elderly, very silvered, dark brown wolf, wiry, smallish, just like Brushfire, that same kind of wiry frame, but even slightly more shrunken due to age, and appears to be just having a nap there.
Thistle is sort of slightly behind C, letting pack leader go first, but clearly also there.
C just kind of steps to a respectable distance to where he can be heard and just, Marchline, I have questions.
Marchline instantly lifts his head, looks like he's just wide awake, like if he either wasn't asleep or he wakes very quickly, because he just lifts his head and looks at C for a minute, and then shifts into Hamid form. And he's wearing just kind of a very plain sort of robe that just looks comfortable, just like a sleeveless tunic-y kind of a thing, barefoot, long, wiry gray hair. And he just looks at C and says, I was hoping you might come to visit me sometime soon. What can I do for you?
You were hoping to see me.
Yes, you're our newest member, and we haven't had a chance really to talk since you were inducted. And then he nods also to Thistle and gives a little nod to Grudek back there as well, and then looks back at C.
Elder? He is an elder, right? He's rank 5?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Grudek will nod and say,
Yeah,
hello.
respectful nod back.
But I come with concerns in the hope that you might be able to enlighten me.
If I can help, I will.
I've only been here for a short amount of time, but I seem to have noticed an amount of tension in this cairn. And I think it falls along a very obvious divide.
Well, I don't know what you know of the history of the cairn, but the children of Gaia and the Uktena have always sort of kept to their separate spheres. The children, they administer the Sept, they run the day-to-day stuff. The Uktena, we take care of the spiritual side. And that's the way it's been, well, the 50 years I've been here and a century or two before that. And sometimes there's some confusion from the newer members about how it works, and that doesn't always go over very well. It's hard to explain to people who haven't been here very long. But if you have questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Forgive me for perhaps speaking out of turn, but it almost seems to be counterproductive at times, as Guru who seem more talented for certain positions are passed over because they fall on the wrong side of the divide. Uktena, who would be more right for administration, and children who would be more right for spirituality.
I follow you there. That gets into some complicated things that are I'm not at liberty to disclose generally. There are some tribal matters that you and I could speak with. We could speak about them to some extent later on, but even at your rank, there are things that I can't tell you, but there are things I could share with you that are, proprietary tribal traditions and rituals and things that are not shared with other tribes. If you speak to T-Tree and Tem, they understand the situation. They're fine with it. They let us do what we do best. But as I said, some of the newer members are not okay with that. They think everybody should be able to do everything. But that just isn't how it works here, unfortunately.
He kind of stops to collect his thoughts for a minute.
And while he's pausing, March Lion just gives him this very steady look and says, "It's Bridge Runner again, isn't it?"
He's not wrong. He is suited to the role of speaking with spirits.
You don't know me well yet, son. And so I can't expect you to give me any more trust than you are obligated to give me by my rank, by my age, and by my history here. So I will not ask you to trust me. But understand that there's more to the situation than meets the naked eye. And that there's a point beyond which I simply can't give answers. As Uktena, you understand the value of secrets, you understand the value of knowledge in the correct hands, and you understand how dangerous it can be when the wrong people are given powerful knowledge. And that's really all I can say on the matter at this point. Bridge Runner has a history of dissatisfaction with the way that things are run here. But the Sept that he has fostered from does not want him back. So we don't have a very decorous way of dealing with the situation. He's mostly kept his feelings under wraps, and we've been trying to work with him, but we cannot give him the position that he seeks. And he either needs to find peace with that, or he needs to find another Sept. And that's just how it is.
What was his former Sept?
The Coastal Empire in Savannah, Georgia. He was apparently a bit of a troublemaker there too.
Can I see if I know anything about that one?
Yeah, let's see. Let's make that a intelligence and
You said that academics would be
Michelle,
your
remind me.
history.
I feel like Bridge Runner did mention that one to me briefly. Yeah.
Go ahead and do intelligence and academics, Gurdek. Difficulty 7, we'll say, since that's not your area of the world at all.
That's fair. 2 successes.
Okay, so you just think Shadow Lords comes to mind, and then when you hear Coastal Empire, you think Shadow Lords, but you're not really sure. You think that's probably a Shadow Lord Sept.
Okay. Gurnik will sort of mutter to himself, troublemaking and Shadow Lord Sept. I knew I liked him.
But C takes a moment to breathe and just... I understand that there is a certain amount of history and mistrust that comes from our own people's history, both among the Guru and outside the Guru, he says, indicating himself. But this only serves to, I understand if I'm speaking out of turn, dig a rent that will only grow wider.
You are absolutely speaking out of turn. He gives a little smile to soften it. But we're very glad to have you. Your presence here means a lot to us, and we're very excited to see what your pack manages to accomplish. But you still have to do things by the rules. The rules are here for a reason, and I know especially young Guru do not like rules. They especially don't like rules that they don't fully understand the explanations for. But I've been around a very long time, as both wolf and man, and there are things that I understand that are not yours to know yet. There are things that I can tell you when you're on your own. There are things that I can share with you, but there are matters that are tribal matters and will not be discussed outside the tribe. And if that's going to be a problem for the rest of your pack, that's something that you'll have to talk with among yourselves. But yeah, I would like to be able to take you into my confidence, but you have to understand that that means these are tribal matters, and that there are certain things that you need to respect if you're going to be trusted with them.
Thistle, well, of course, I don't mean to intrude on tribal matters at all. I simply want to do what I can for my pack and for the Sept more largely within my auspice and just with my capabilities in general, where I can without stepping over what is the Octena's historical and current domain.
And Marsh Lion gives Thistle a rather intense look, and anybody who wants to try to read that look, it would be perception and empathy, difficulty 7.
Okay. I don't know if you want me to roll. I have a difficulty -2 social for pack related. I'll put it in chat if it's something.
Yeah, this is
like
not pack related. It's directly March Lion to you as an individual. So
okay. I just it's
Three successes.
I have 3 as well.
Yeah. Which was the thing that
perception, empathy. Mm-hmm.
I evidently forgot an E. That explains why the rule came up as sense motion, not sense emotion.
His motion sensor.
My motion
difficulty
sensor
6, you said?
Yes. No. 7. Did I say difficulty?
7.
Or...
7.
Oh, Sorry.
I had already forgotten. My short-term memory is the worst.
Uh,
So you all got 3?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. The look that he's giving Thistle is just one of absolute sadness bordering on grief. As he looks at Zur for a moment and says, and then he just says, "I'm sure you'll do very well here."
Rudek pipes up and says, "Elder, you would have been amazed to see her. We stepped sideways
Sure.
just a few moments ago."
As the rest of the
Zur.
pack simultaneously
Just
says,
like in
"Zur."
your head.
When we stepped sideways a moment ago, she was positively surrounded by spirits that stepped up to Zur as if drawn by Zur.
with what's her name again?
Brushfire?
Brushfire.
With Brushfire's help to call them and allow me the opportunity to converse.
Yes. Honestly, between us, he leans in a little bit. If I'd known that we were going to have a Philodox in the Sept so soon, I might not have jumped to give her that position. It has to be given within the tribe. The Master of the Right, Keeper of the Land, Caller of the Wild. These are all tribal positions at this Sept. And she was the only Octena available for that position. And she's doing the best she can. And for an Arun, she's done very well. But I think a Philodox would have done, is a little bit closer to the Crescent Moon as far as being able to achieve the necessary focus. And but she'll be all right. If she decides that she wants to give up the position at any point, we can talk about possibly training for the role. But yeah, unfortunately, that is a tribal position as well. And
Of course.
yeah. But any of the other SEP positions, administrative and defense, it's open to any of you.
C kind of pauses for a moment
There's
and looks.
still
Gone.
there's still an air of like very respectful, but there's also a like sort of confidence and slight irritation as Thistle is a little bit straighter.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the inclination, and of course, C or anyone who's in that role where I can help and where I can't, I'm of course happy to observe. I don't. There isn't quite a Garu way to say this, but from a Hamid perspective, I voluntarily rescinded my social status already. I don't give too many cares for that. Besides where it helps or hinders my pack to be caught in the middle of what I understand to be long-running historical and very socially complicated issues. I want to be my pack's theurge where I can.
I'm sure you'll have plenty of opportunities and already have excelled in that role from all reports. It's only when it comes to Sept positions that you're limited at all. You'll have, you'll have many opportunities to do very important in the field work, as I understand you've already been doing. You've been investigating some threats in the city on your second day in the Sept, and that is every bit what I would expect from the pack, from the prophecy. So continue doing what you're doing, and the affairs of this Sept, the rifts and scars in this Sept its history and its present are eventually going to be so irrelevant to the five of you. Do you understand? This sept is powerful in its place, but you will have so much bigger things in your future than what goes on at this sept and what petty squabbles there are between lower ranking Guru here, that I hope you won't let it weigh you down too much, that you will keep your sights on larger things, on the worm and the apocalypse and the greater mission of the Guru as warriors of Gaia, and that is where you will excel. And I have every faith in you.
Yes, Thistle will give a much deeper nod at this point.
C kind of looks over his shoulder at Thistle and Grudak, and with a voice that from any normal Guru, and probably to anyone who doesn't know C that well, sounds relatively normal, but to his packmates is probably notably dripping with rage that is being barely held back. Says, could the two of you give us a moment alone? As he looks back at March Lion, if that's all right.
I would be happy to speak with you confidentially.
Thistle will give a nod to Elder and a nod to C as
before Thistle leaves, March Lion just turns to Zur and says, and you could learn a lot from getting the Children of Gaia's perspective on this situation as well. I'm sure Tea Tree or some of the others could explain to you how they see it. And I encourage you to get their side of the story as well.
I didn't wish to be inappropriate, but I think we intend to. Giving that nod, Elder, and nod to C as the pack leader, Thistle will head off, sort of looking to see if Grudak is also interested in heading off, or if Grudak wishes to stick around.
No, Grudak will also get ready to turn to follow, but in response to the look that C shot them, Grudak will look back at C, and then I think through the totem, you all can hear Grudak asking, "You okay?"
And you hear through the mental link, "No."
Grudak was starting to turn away, and then kind of turns back and says, "Are you the sort of okay that you need me to take you away? Are you the sort of not okay that you need me to take you away? Or the sort of okay that will be resolved through more conversation?"
Sorry, are we fucking shite up now?
I over the link, I need to have this talk.
Thistle will sort of try and a combination of words and the things that would be emojis in text and are sort of potentially feelings over the bond if they can manage it. Don't go to bat for me over something I don't care about. Go to bat for us if you need to.
I'm picturing that little sort of error message you get when your carrier doesn't have the same emoji that you're trying to send, as Turtle is just going, "What the hell are these?"
Well, it's not being sent in the form of an emoji. It's I know. As much as Thistle can manage it. I don't know how well this works with the bond. Just this sort of feeling of
less words and more
apathy.
Empath.
Not necessarily apathy, but like a
shrug emoji.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's just this shrug, and a feeling of sort of determination is probably the best word. This is what I am. The same feeling you get if Thistle ever corrects pronouns over
that kind of thing.
I am what I am.
That kind of thing does translate well over the bond because you're speaking directly to people's minds, and so they can get the vibes.
Only having the vaguest of context because Tig and I are out elsewhere over the bond. Remember caution, see.
And yeah, at that point, Thistle's going to head off.
The thing that comes back to the bond to everyone else is, to describe it in imagery, is a storm trapped in a cage. Everything is rattling and shaking, but it's still under control right now.
Oh, and here's the moment where this can happen. So March Lion looks gives C this very penetrating look, and he says, "Stormheart, what is troubling you?" Like he can see right into C's soul. He's just looking at him. And has just named him.
Everything troubles me.
Thistle will, like, as further away, giving this conversation privacy, just sort of start meditating and start projecting on a low level of, I am purposefully giving this conversation its space and not trying to intrude or request comment, but just this sense of the storm being there to protect a small house, not to harm it.
Nice.
Like,
Okay.
Grudik falls into step beside her and says quietly, we both agree, though, that if we hear yelling, we run back there, right?
if it's the kind of yelling that is yelling for us, not the kind of yelling that is a family disagreeing.
Grudik doesn't
And
respond.
Thistle will probably stumble because he is trying to both walk and do a complex psychic image and just sort of like probably the amphitheater or something, whatever's close by, just find a bench and sit down.
Okay. Yeah, the amphitheater's not too far from the caern center, so that might be a good place to hang out. And also it's not right near the sleeping tents where like everybody is generally gathering, so a little more privacy. So March Lion is still just looking expectantly and very intently at C.
Everything bothers me, but you wish to speak privately.
We should be able to speak now without being overheard. He glances around and the area is cleared. But if you'd like to go somewhere else, we can.
Here is fine.
What's on your mind?
So many things. But I want to know what you would have me keep secret from the rest of my pack.
Everything I tell you to. He smiles. Do you understand why? Do you understand our tribe's history well enough yet to know why? Because if you don't understand, if you do this reluctantly, then it isn't time yet.
I understand that we have been wronged in the past, that our secrets, when handed too freely, caused the death of the middle brother.
And more recently, in this very sept, many, many deaths were caused by trusting the wrong person.
I understand that trust is difficult and that some things must be kept.
And I want to trust you. I want to trust you more than you can possibly imagine. I've been here 50 years, you understand? I've seen a lot of things. I've been here longer than anyone else at this sept. And as you may notice, a great number of us have been here for a decade or less. Have you wondered why that is?
What happened here?
Many of us perished in an attack 10 years ago. There was a bane that broke through, manifested in the physical world here in the Sept. And this was as a result of one of our tribe giving the wrong information to someone that they were sure that they could trust, against my express wishes. The Sept leader was killed. The Master of Challenges was killed. The Master of Howl, the Worm Foe. They were all killed. It's nearly 11 years ago now. They've all been replaced since, and the arm of Pentex that was responsible for the attack has been annihilated by our friends, the Glasswalkers in Silicon Valley. And for that, we were very grateful. So that particular mistake will not be repeated. But you understand, son, that the things that I do, the caution that I have, it is not unwarranted. And you are new and you haven't seen the things that I've seen. But the worm is everywhere, and it slips its way into the ears of anyone who will listen. And those who come from across the sea are far more susceptible to its whispers than those native to this land. And it's just a fact, and no one likes to hear it. But I have seen it shown again and again. And I have seen and heard stories of this Sept nearly annihilated too many times to allow it to happen again on my watch. And I hope that someday soon my watch will be over and someone will take my place. But until then, I have to do what I can to protect this Sept from corruption. And it is a more difficult job than you can possibly understand at this point. But I ask that you please trust me. I am very old and very tired, and I would not still be here if anyone else could do the job that I do. And that's all that I can tell you now, but I want to trust you more. So please show me that I can. And you can care for your packmates, and you can trust them with your life, and you can love them in your way. But they will never be Uktena. And it only remains to be seen whether you truly are or not.
Perhaps I am. Perhaps, with the coming of our totem, maybe I'm more of the Croatan. We'll see.
Don't think that hasn't occurred to me. He smiles. I like that you're thinking this way already. This is a good sign. I have faith in you. But we'll wait and we'll see. That is what we do. We are patient. And we are wise. And that is what keeps us safe. Now, that's enough for now.
But never complacent.
Right. Now go back to your pack. I need to rest. But you know where to find me if there's anything I should know.
Of course.
And with that, he gives a sort of nod that basically says, "You are dismissed." And shifts back into lupus form and just curls up there on the ground with his chin on his paws, closes his eyes.
He sort of turns and walks away. Very quietly, with perhaps he's normally got a very light step, which means that just the fact that he's making noise walking away is significant, but
if I haven't seen C yet or gotten any other communication, there's still that, as much as I can manage it, that sort of general image.
Thistle, Tig, let's go. We've got work to do.
So when you rejoin Thistle and Tig, is Shadow with Tig
Yeah, I
still?
imagine that Tig and I went and found something to do. Probably, like, I've probably found...
So Tig had some very specific purposes in mind.
Okay.
First thing he was going to do is follow the stream and see if he could find any turtles. That failing, he was going to wander around and see if any of the kinfolk girls recognize him in wolf form.
No turtles in the stream
Okay.
at this time. And the girls do not seem to recognize his lupus form.
Okay, cool. That was all he had
I
planned.
would have been wandering around with Tig, and after a while, probably found a particularly heavy branch that might have fallen off of a tree, and have just been doing practice swings with it, still in Hamid form, just getting used to having to fight with a weapon in Hamid form.
Okay. So, William, when C rejoins the rest of his pack, for just a flash of a second, he sees something. He's facing the rest of his pack, and he sees something behind them for just a moment, and it appears for long enough for him to see it clearly, but it is gone fast enough for him to realize that it was not exactly real. And I've sent you what it was.
I need something sturdier. Hamid hands are not the strongest.
If you talk to Tim, I'm pretty sure he could. It's kind of his thing. He's probably able to find what might work best for you.
While you are in the city, I will see about procuring a weapon.
I assume we have them. We are like fighter wolf people, so.
He kind of, as he's approaching the group, he kind of like tosses his sword towards Shadow. Practice with that for a minute. It's more of a chopping blade. You might like the feel of it.
Grudek shrugs as he comes up, because I assume Thistle is coming up and walking, and Grudek is just sort of following Zer.
Yeah.
And comes up and says, crowbars are always very popular with my people.
This reminds me of the falchion.
Crowbars? Or...
This reminds me of a falchion.
It's very similar. Comes from
my
the
home use them.
Yes, that's a weapon of the Philippines. It's called a campilan. It's traditional. The hilt is engraved with the head of a monster, usually a legendary beast. I thought it was fitting.
So, where are we going? What are we doing?
Gonna print off some documents. Fascinating and interesting, but useful. I'm going to dress you up all pretty like and introduce you to my folks.
Has anybody seen
Nice, but they've got
Silverblade
one
come back?
requirement. I want some fucking guy liner.
Yes. And probably sans any requirements will see Grudek, if we could talk to T-Tree later today or whenever there's time.
If you want, do you want to talk before we leave or after?
Can we not do it right now?
All right, let's get going.
I have
then.
not seen Silver Glare, Grudek. No.
Should we check in with her pack, see if they've heard anything? She was supposed to be back by now, right?
Give it time.
I'll be able
it's
to
right
message
now
her
about-
once I'm in the city if you want to come along.
It's about 9 a.m. at the moment, just FYI.
Yeah.
Okay, so she might not even if nothing's gone wrong, she might not just be back yet, right? She just said she'd be back in the morning.
Mhm.
Okay.
I will let you know if she returns.
All right. Thistle, Tig, do you want company or just you all?
I'd prefer to introduce one boyfriend at a time in this context, but if you want to come with us to the city, I am totally in favor of if you want to.
Critic actually barks with laughter at that. No, I can drive. I'm not sure if you all drive.
I can drive. I don't have a car. C has a car.
So just so I'm clear, C is going to drive Thistle and Tig, and possibly Grudek, and Shadow is staying here.
I'm gonna be training
Thistle.
near the entrance so that I can see when Silver Glare comes back, if Silver Glare comes back.
Okay. So you guys are heading down to the parking C, and is Grudek coming with them or staying at the Sept?
Yeah, I think so. Do I have any idea when my bone gnawer friend might have an update for me? Is it reasonable to expect that that she might have something today?
I wouldn't think so. It's been one day, and you asked for some pretty, complicated intel. So
Okay.
it might be several days worth of investigation.
Oh,
here.
Grudek, you mentioned Skype. Do you need that now or?
Yeah, maybe I just wanted to see maybe if I could get anyone back home. Sometimes we have connection in my home Sept, sometimes not. Just would like to say.
Well, if you're headed down with us,
Great. I thank you.
Yeah.
Thistle. I that would be nice.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Always nice to say hello to family.
Mm-hmm. Thistle will dress up Tig. Probably some sort of crop top, potentially with like not necessarily obscure but weird looking graphic art. Anime themed bag, short shorts, some makeup with Tig's preferred things, and like a little hat probably as well. Accessorize.
Dope.
Yeah. And we'll also put on more typical street clothes, sort of to obscure the uniform part, because it's weird if my parents always see me wearing the exact same thing.
Tig will, as the makeover is commencing, quietly remind Thistle that if shit gets sketchy, this stuff might all get ripped all to shreds.
I'd prefer if you don't rip it to shreds unless there's something going on, but none of this is things that I care about poofing into the Umbra. I've dealt with making sure I have the stuff I really need.
Fair play to you then.
Okay,
I'll
so
also probably grab my tablet.
The test run for this is seeing if the two of you can manage to keep a straight face as we run to the print store first.
There's nothing weird about this other than that Tig doesn't usually dress like this.
I know.
And that
That's
he's
what I'm
totally
Simply a
not
bit
your
flashier
boyfriend.
than I usually am.
So, because now the park is open, you have to do the whole waiting by the stone thing for so it's 15 20 minutes before you can actually get over the rock, and then it's an hour's walk down to the parking lot. And on your way down to the parking lot on the trail, you actually intercept Silver Glare, who's on her way back up to the Sept. So yay, she didn't die, but unfortunately there is a complication, because as she's walking up the trail, she has by the hand that little girl from the apartment. And that's where we're going to leave tonight.
For fuck's sake.
That's where we're going to stop for the evening.
All right.
I like the mental image of Grudek and Tig side by side, and they both see at the same time, and Tig is going, oh, fuck. And Grudek is just like, yay!
Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Goodbye.
See you next time.